guys, here come the dollies. They got fresh sinkers, hot coffee, and the sweetest smile.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Clubmobile. Thank you for joining us. We're very happy to have the one and only Matt Leitch with us today. Matt, thanks so much.
Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here. I'm in a very hot conservatory because my son has overslept on his nap. So my nice, cool office and desk, which is that's where he's splayed out on the floor in there, and I'm in a sweat lodge, which is why I'm at a weird angle, and I'm continually going to be wiping sweat off.
That's all right.
That's fine. It's fine. It's also hot here in Washington as well. So dangerous on the nap though, letting him oversleep. You've created a rod for your own back there, Matt.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry, it's my third kid. As long as he's asleep, it's fine.
Exactly. Correct. I'm very excited for this one. I spent a lot of COVID watching Band of Brothers. To the point where my second child was almost born to Matt's line, "You gotta love cops," but the doctor made me turn it off.
Yeah, that seems like you might have. That's an yeah. So it was going right up to like maximum dilation.
Yes.
Whoa.
And he said, "Ma'am, can you turn this off?" And I said, "No, this is calming me down." But seriously, yes, he almost entered the world during that scene.
That might explain why your son is a bit of a gremlin.
That could explain so much, actually, and it's probably Matthew's fault.
His foremost life was made.
How do you? It's been what, 25 years?
Almost 25 years,
right? In a short little paragraph, what have you been up to in those 25 years, and how have we got to this point where you also have a podcast?
All right, so I'll miss most of it out then.
Don't miss out Batman. That was a hit.
Don't miss out Batman. I continued on doing acting stuff till about 2015. And then I stopped, and then I went to work construction for a while, formed my own company, was working out in DC doing stuff. Ended up having to bust up with my business partners. And I went to a lawyer. I went to see a lawyer, exactly at the same place where Johnny Depp's trial was at, by the way. In fact, it's called something like Lawyer Lane or Courthouse Road or something like that. And I went to see a lawyer because it was a bit of a messy settlement. And he basically told me to, he was like, "I charge $400 an hour, and I don't want to charge you that much. You're not getting away with any of this. Like, it's just gonna be what it's gonna be." And I thought, oh, well, thanks for not charging me $400 an hour. They said, "You seem like a charismatic fellow. Why don't you just go do something else?" And I walked out of his office and thought, well, that's a nice thing to say, but I've no idea what to do. I walked out, and there was an aviation magazine in the reception. And for reasons I do not know, I flipped it over, and on the back of it was a Band of Brothers tour. And it was like, All Born to the Eagle's Nest. It was called something like that. And I thought, I wonder if they would want anybody consulting on it or something. Somebody was in the show. So I called the number because I didn't have anything else to do. I called the number, and Jimmy Madio per Conte picked up straight away and called me back, and he was like, "Dude, you got to get on these tours, man. You'd be great." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, it's via the World War II Museum, and they treat you really well. The daily fee's high, the hotels are great. It's 2 weeks. And I ended up doing 5 of them pretty much back to back, and they're all 2 weeks long. I did one 2 weeks, and then we did one straight away afterwards again. And then there was like 10 days off, and I did 2 more weeks of it. And then I ended up taking over from Captain Dye, who was on a tour, and then he needed to leave it in Eindhoven. And that's what started me. I hadn't even thought much about Band of Brothers between finishing shooting and then, which was 2018. a little bit here and there, stuff on my show reel kind of thing, but I hadn't
never
really.
know that you kind of had
Yeah,
that big gap between when you ended filming and like when you picked up doing the tours, because you are, I mean, not blowing smoke up your ass, but you really are very like invested in it. You're very passionate about the history of it. Like you can absolutely tell.
yeah, it sort of, I didn't really know I was. I mean, I've always been a history nerd, but I didn't really know I was till I started doing those tours.
Mm.
And then I was like, wow, people are really into this. And then I'd start spewing off all the guff that I know, and getting more and more into it. And then what happened is that COVID happened. So COVID shut down those tours. And I had met a fella called Leighton Hughes, who was a fan of the show. He was more of a fan of a kids show I was in before Band of Brothers, actually.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's a cracker.
It's a whopper
You
of a
should
show.
watch it, Gabby. It's
Yes.
something. I
Um,
enjoyed it. Anyway.
yeah, so he had me sign some headshots for people, and it's like people pay for these, and then people was like, there was, oh, can I get one? Can I get one? And I was, it just didn't quite sit right with me that people were paying money just for a headshot with a signature on it. So I said, well, is there any way we can like get these people that want to do this in a Zoom meeting room? And when I sign it, I'll like talk to them, say, oh, hey man, thanks for watching the show. Do you like this? Blah, 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 whatever. And I'll sign it for them and their name, whatever they wanted signed. And I don't know how, but from that conversation, that spiraled into, what we could do, because we're all COVID and everyone shut down.
Mm.
We could do like a cast reunion, and I could host it and I could ask them questions. So we got together Shane Taylor and Lucy Jean, who played Doc Rowe, the medic, and the nurse, Renee Lemaire, from episode 6. And they both said they'd come on. And then somehow Leighton managed to get the director. And I don't know, we put all these people together, and then we were like, well, let's try and sell tickets. Let's see if anybody's interested. And there was about 300 people that bought tickets for it, for this live event, which was bloody terrifying. It was one of those things that I of saying I'll do things and agreeing to things. Yeah, and not thinking about it, and then coming to it and thinking, oh God, what have I just agreed to? So that was pretty nerve-wracking, especially like I wasn't sure technically it was going to work. We did have to shut everyone's microphone down and the chats off, otherwise it was chaos. But so we went through all the episodes, not chronologically, but like 1 to 10 in different orders, and got different cast members and writers and producers and directors and all sorts of people on. And then we ran out of Band of Brothers stuff. So we did a little bit of the Pacific, but that turned into an Ethiopian jug fudge because they didn't get the remit. The Pacific boys just all jumped on at the same time. So there was like 13 of them
just chilling in the waiting room, like, hey, I'm all here.
like, oh, this is not what we're doing. That was chaos, but good. And then as things started opening up again, travel and stuff, I was like, well, I've been doing these tours. They're really cool. We could try and do something ourselves. And it basically just spiraled from there. The first couple that we did weren't all that successful financially. We overloaded it with stuff that we hadn't really thought about. And then we got into a groove, and we started to like, all right, let's cut away all that stuff and just do a 2-day tour. And let's get a guide that I know. And let's go to like Normandy or the Bulge, or let's do Arnhem, the Market Garden. And we tend to do, I don't know, about 5 or 6 of them a year when we can. We've got one more coming up, and then I think I'm going to knock it on the head for a while, at least. We're going to do an SAS Rogue Heroes one. So we're going to go to Sicily and do that.
So is it a break or is it a hiatus? Like, is it a break hiatus,
Right.
or
Is
is
it a
it like
permanent break,
that's
or is
the
it just
end?
For We Happy Few in this iteration, it's the end.
Okay.
Leighton and I have kind of run out of steam for it in that direction.
That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a busy time. You've got a bunch of people to take care of. I'm sure that it's
Yeah.
He's a busy
and
man,
it's
and so he has to
yeah.
give a lot of his time to do it, and then he's got to take time to go away and all this business. And it was wearing him down a little bit. And then we had this conversation, and I was like, well, maybe we just do one last big one.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is a chance that I personally might now then take it on myself, and and sort of revamp it and do it slightly differently. But
Mm.
in the done at the moment, yes, this will be the last one.
Wow. I remember when the Zoom started, I was on every single Zoom and not even knowing you were there too, Winnie.
Yeah, we were both
We didn't
in the
know each
same
other.
room without realizing
We didn't know
it,
each other.
literally.
And I remember you throwing Claire on, just throwing her in one of the lives one day. And you were like, why are you sitting in the dark? And she was like putting her
She
son
was
to
putting the
sleep.
baby to
And I didn't know
bed.
either that like 5 years later, here I would be friends with all these people because you just kind of created this really great place for people that share a passion for history. And,
Yeah.
you know, this one show brought so many people together.
Yeah, I
And
think
I'm like, wow, he's
the-
not just a pretty face.
yeah, they're great as some of the tour companies are. I mean, they are all on an economic for what people can afford. Sometimes they just price people out.
Yeah.
They're a business and they've got to make money, and to do that,
Right.
the more is involved in it. And it's like sometimes you're touring with people who can afford to take 2 weeks off, who can
Yeah.
afford to do that. And I wanted to do something for people who couldn't. I wanted to do something for people who, watched my Zooms and that kind of stuff, and could beg the weekend off, get someone to look after their kid, and it wouldn't be too expensive. And then when we're there, I don't know. I don't know. I'm the third child of a weird dysfunctional family. You know what I mean? I'm like Chandler Bing. I start doing a weird dance.
Oh gosh.
So
You do. That's
so
okay.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. That's okay. And that was like the last tour in Cambridge was my first tour ever. And just because, timing wise or financially, that was the first one I ever went on. And I was like, oh, this is so great. And I didn't feel like I got, taken for an organ to pay for it either, which was really great. You guys everything was perfect.
Yeah. And I think if we could do that more often,
Yeah.
It would be a better functioning business. Just to talk grossness, but because of time constraints that Leighton and I have together, we can't do that. So if I do revamp it, I will end up doing more than I do at the moment, and making it a bit more businessy, I guess, throw myself into it a bit more. Which will be cool. It's cool to keep the same set of people, watch my nerdlings grow. It's everybody gets together. There were certain people that came on the tour before who, I mean, you wouldn't be offside to describe them as profoundly odd. And now they've just got all these like friends, and they're flipping me crap, and it's great. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
Grow in confidence in their little.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
You're like the leader. You're
Yeah.
the little nerd leader.
Lead Piper of nerds.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was about to say that. Did the response surprise you after so long in between, filming Band and then you starting these tours? Was it kind of a shock that there was still a fan base and it's still growing?
Yeah, and yes and no. Yes, when I first got on social media, because I was like, bloody hell. I remember but that was years before I started We Happy Few.
Yeah.
And then in between that time, between me sort of first going on social media and people being able to contact me personally, which before that you couldn't do, so you've no idea what people are thinking about anything.
Yeah.
I realized that there was quite a large market for it through people like Tim Gray with the World War II Foundation, who were doing events in Normandy and bringing some of the guys over. So I knew there was a wide fan base. But when I first got online on like Facebook, which must have been, I don't know, like 2009, 2010, because I am ridiculously rubbish when it comes to anything technological. So I don't know, maybe at the time my wife Facebook up for me. And I remember at the time all the messages used to be along the bottom rather than
Yeah.
like I sort of like put myself online. I pressed the button to go, boom, I'm online. And 50 messages just went, these little red dots along the bottom. Almost instantly when I did it, it was like, and I was like, bloody hell. And they were to a man, woman, or whoever else. They were all to do with Band of Brothers. I was like, whoa. I mean, the thing is as well, is that the show as a whole was was a slow grow. And it's grown slowly and sort of like stronger as it's gone on. When it first came out, it actually wasn't that successful. It wasn't all that successful for lots of reasons. First episode came out on September 9th, 2001. So by the time the second episode had come out, there'd been this world-changing event and people didn't have the space to watch something really gory. And in a way, I'd sort of let it go. I sort of thought, well, that kind of tripped up before it got going, really, didn't it? What a shame. And I didn't really think about it again until about 2009, something like that. So 8 years after it came out, I got a magazine through, there's like a union magazine for English actors that said something about residuals. And I phoned my agent, thought, have there been any residuals? And I had left that agent, she'd retired. And she sent me a check, and I was like, oh, okay, well, there must be some interest then. And from then, it's just, I don't know. Particularly when you go to like Europe, if you go to somewhere like the Bulge or the Bastogne or whatever, and you meet all these young kids who are reenactors, and they've all got the Screaming Eagle on their shoulder or whatever. They're all sort of like doing Band of Brothers stuff, and then all these like historians and tour guides in France, in Normandy, and all these places have all sort of, they've probably not got into it because of Band of Brothers, but they've definitely used Band of Brothers to their advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
Saying, I want to go to Breakour Manor, or I want to go to Carentan, or I want to go somewhere that was in the show, and then got into it from there. So, yeah, I guess it is kind of surprising, but like, I don't know, like when you hear the feedback back of what people know, because it is just, it was a one-off kind of perfect show. So about a subject that lots and lots of people want to know about and really care about.
I guess like it was one of the first of its kind on TV to show how the war really was. Something that I've wondered the past year or so is, do you feel like you've sort of passed the torch from yourself to these new guys, to the Masters of the Air guys? And do you feel it's going to be a similar situation where it starts slow and grows over the next 25 years for them?
I certainly hope so, because they weren't helped by the streaming platform that they were on at all. And
Absolutely not.
um, and the fact that people just didn't want to get Apple TV, quite frankly, they don't want another streaming system. And if it gets put on, gets a primetime run or whatever, or gets on HBO or Netflix, I think probably yes. So I've toured and interviewed and hung out with a bunch of the Masters guys. They're very different to us, like really, really different. They're all way more cerebral, intelligent, as people who worked in that particular sphere were. They had to be super clever and know their job really, really well. And they're all really cool, good guys. And I do hope it gets the same interest. It's a weird one, you know. That sometimes it's all PR, and the 101st are brilliant with their own PR. Do you know what I mean? And planes, even during the war, it was fascinating to people and kind of sexy. Do you know what I mean? It was like people just wanted to see these like airborne guys doing their airborne stuff, whereas there's something a little bit removed, the sort of the air war, even though, I mean, their attrition rate was absolutely horrendous. And what they did was absolutely incredible, and the stress levels and all the rest of it, everything that makes a great drama is all there. And again, it's all real guys. So I hope so. with Band, it was a perfect sort of storm. The moons aligned with lots of different reasons, and one of the main one being, of course, is that quite a lot of the veterans were still with us. Quite a lot of the veterans were on set. Quite a lot of the veterans went out and did kind of their own pseudo PR by being invited on these tours and places, and thousands of people have come to meet them. And they have those great interviews that are sort of the top and tail each episode. And I think people can really identify with that. Whereas a show like Masters of the Air, I mean, there's a handful of guys left. Even though some of them are absolutely amazing to listen to. We had Lucky Luckadoo on our show, and I think he was 100 years old.
Yeah. He's
Close.
103
He's 103
now.
now. God bless him. I mean, I think there's only just the three
Yeah.
that might be left.
Yeah. And they're not even in the show.
Yeah, and he spoke for an hour solidly, and he wasn't done. So in the next episode, I literally just let him go, and I didn't even ask any questions. He had exactly the recall of exactly what he wanted to talk about, and some of it was really complex. Do you know what I mean? Bomb missions and vectors and all sorts of stuff. He was incredibly smart, erudite man at the age of 103. So yeah, I mean, as a long-winded way of answering your question, I hope so, and I think it will grow if it gets a wider audience and it gets more sort of. I mean, when Band first came out, it was like, I Love Lucy. People turned their, they were let out of work early and all that stuff, and they blew the whistle, and you know what I mean. It was like Band starting, and then it was on terrestrial TV here, and it just. I think with it being on Apple TV at the time that it was, it was a little bit kind of niche.
Yeah, because I remember you had to have the HBO. You had to have HBO in your cable package back in the day. At least here in the States you did. And I remember my dad would be like, Sunday night, the first Sunday, he was so excited. It's like, we're going to watch this. And I was like, what is it? Because I remember growing up and he'd always have like, to my mother's dismay, Patton, The Longest Day, something would always be on. And I would always just kind of hover and be like, what are you watching?
That is the longest film as well.
Yes, it is.
Long film.
And he's like, well, you want to watch it with me? I was like, yeah, let's watch it. And I remember being just hooked. And then 9/11.
Yep.
And he's like, we're still going to watch it. I was like, you've just been out down at ground zero for a week.
Yeah.
We're going to watch it. Okay.
How do you want to unwind? Well, yeah.
How do you want to, right? Yeah. But
I remember
it was the one that really just sparked really, I was just like.
Well, I'll tell you as well, this is quite important as well. And that is because I'm working with a writer at the moment, trying to help him break down his book into a TV pitch. So he'll come to me and he's like, do you think we could do this? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm batting back and forth the fact that certain things just won't come off the page into a visual TV thing. Like you could have actors on something and it would equate to 5 seconds of TV. Do you know what I mean? It's like, certain things don't transfer all that well. And Band of Brothers is written like a film script. Whether it was a happy accident or whether or not he knew what he was doing, because of the way that it's written, you could literally cut it into 10 equal parts and have 10 equal episodes, or 13 as there was originally. Yeah. And there's so much boots on the ground, grunts, first-hand account from the characters that they're playing that all match up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I read the book after I watched it, and I remember you could, as you're flipping the pages, you could see it. Like, this was this scene, this was this scene. I don't get the same vibe from trying to read Masters of the Air. I've been trying to read Masters of the Air for over a year.
Oh,
it's very dense, but you get that vibe with Harry Crosby's book, where it reads very much like the show.
You get that vibe.
And Frank Murphy's book as well.
Yeah, and you get the vibe, I think, as well from Eugene Sledge's book.
Mm-hmm.
I
well.
still need to read that. I've only just watched The Pacific for the second time. I watched them all in chronological order recently, like one literally banned Pacific, but all in like the 43, 44, 45 sort of time scale. And I didn't like The Pacific originally, but watching it in that format of doing it through the years, um, I really liked it. I think it's the one that's the least well received just because it's so gory, especially after Band,
Yeah,
because Band was such a very heartfelt, underneath it all, it's just friendship during this extremely traumatic time.
Which
Whereas
I
with The
think you guys have
Pacific,
done
you
a
don't
great
get.
job of keeping
Oh
up through the
yeah.
years. I mean,
yeah,
you guys are tight. All of you, for the most
yeah.
Mm.
part, are very close.
Say that to anybody who asks. Yeah, there's all these WhatsApp change and everything. But if someone like Michael Cudlett's Bull Randleman, I could email him now and say, "Hey, man, do you want to meet up and talk about The Walking Dead?" And he wouldn't answer me. Like, or Dexter Fletcher. Oh, Dexter bothers me all the time. But I love Dexter. It's a whole thing. Um, but if I were to say to Cudlitz, "Hey, man, in 5 minutes' time, I'm doing a Band of Brothers podcast. Will you jump on?" He'd jump on like that. Like that particular, even with people of that particular profile and that particular busyness,
Mm.
the Casavedo, or any of these guys that've got a decent profile, got big, big body of work that you might think, I'm just being a pest. If it's anything to do with the band, they'll jump on straight away, absolutely straight away. But the thing about the Pacific as well, um, talking to some of the writers and directors, I get the feeling that Pacific was the troublesome second novel. Like,
The middle
The
child.
middle child is what we've equated it to. Yes.
troublesome second novel in that, like, I don't know, part of me thinks they might have tried too hard. Too many people, I don't know, were trying to reinvent the wheel, or do you know what I mean? Like, the great thing about Band, having spoken to people like John Orloff on multiple occasions, I can't seem to shake that guy either, is that they got the best people and then they got out of their way. So that was John's first gig. He'd never written a show before. So you've got this greenhorn writer who somebody's seen something in.
Right.
They a breakdown of these two episodes, which are strung quite far apart, by the way. And most people think that episode two, like Raycor Manor, was already in the history books and was already being taught at West Point. It's not. Orloff researched it all himself. But the point is that everyone got out of his way and just let him do it.
Right.
This brilliant director, Richard Longcrane. And everyone got out of his way as well. And then he didn't, do you know what I mean? Like, you just put the best talent in a row and they just let him get on with it. And I think on the Pacific, that wasn't the case. Like, I'm not doing the Pacific down, but you just get that sense coming from, and Masters of the Air, definitely. Like, Orloff goes slightly white and starts vibrating when you mention Masters of the Air. So I do it a lot just to wind him up. But I think it was just.
You wind people up now.
Yeah.
Not having it.
Yeah. So, and so I think, yeah, it just, I don't know. I think maybe there was just too much involvement and not just keep it really simple.
Right.
Because it's quite hard when you've got a really good story and really good characters based on actual history to kind of muck it up unless you just kind of try too hard.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think they wanted it to be Band 2.0. That's always
Yeah, and they tried a
where
bit
I
too
kind of
hard
sit with it. I'm like, they really wanted to do again the magic that they had for Band, and you can't, like, lightning doesn't strike twice type of thing.
I think
It was going to be its own type of special show, and I think they just wanted it to be you guys all over again.
yeah, and I think maybe they I don't know, just from the production side of things, I think they might have missed a couple of tricks. Like, I remember going to see Private Ryan and feeling sick for 3 days afterwards. I was just felt nauseous. It was just so much.
Well, Private Ryan does a number on you. Even now, if I watch it, I'm like, oh God.
Unbelievable. I was just like, that is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then when Band came along, I was like, I can't believe I'm working with these guys. But I remember Tom Hanks directing episode 5 and him saying we don't need shutter cam on this. Like, you know, that thing where the camera moves every time there's a. What they do with that is really piece of genius, actually. There's a screw just underneath the camera that basically holds it steady. You just unscrew that and then just use the camera normally and it shakes. But the point of it shaking is that it makes it feel like it's somebody's point of view.
Yeah.
You'll do that in horror films quite a lot, where the camera will just suddenly move slightly, like it gives you this weird eerie feeling that somebody's watching. And it was used a lot in Private Ryan, and then Hanks realized we don't need to keep using it in Band of Brothers. Do you know what I mean? Like we've done a bit of it, we've done a bit of it at Breakcore. Maybe we go our own way and we film this in our own way.
Right.
Something like Masters of the Air, for example. My personal opinion is it missed a real trick in that there's a lot of footage out there by people like William Wyler, who did the Big Blue documentary. Is in the Cold Blue, is it? An old Cold Blue documentary about Memphis Belle. It's all shot in this incredible 16mm footage, which is really rich in color. And I just feel like rather than use all this like technological CGI stuff, they could have maybe gone down that route and almost had it like there was a newsreel reporter in there with them with this incredible 16mm footage, which would have been really close. Just like off the top of my head, felt like, I don't know, like it wasn't unique in and of itself as a show. That's just my personal opinion.
Well. What's next podcast wise for you? We'll switch gears a little bit. Are you and Doug going to continue with the Nearly Men podcast? Is that something that's coming to an end as well?
Yeah, I think it might do. Well, yeah, I think it might do soon as well. We still have a few guys who want to get on, and then I might wrap that up as well. But again, I'm thinking of revamping somewhere else as well, which I'll announcements on that as well.
So many ideas, not enough.
No
time
pressure.
in the
We know
day.
you like going on Instagram Live and with your face painted and sharing all your news with everybody.
Completely forgotten that my daughter had painted my face.
I was at work and I opened my phone. I said, "What happened to him?"
Got lost in the clown factory.
Got these face paints, I don't know, and I was absent-mindedly, because she's quite mental, my daughter, so she's not smashing the place up or yelling at me. I just let it roll.
Mm-hmm. So, correct. Smart man.
Painting all my face in this way. And then I thought, I said I'd go live at 6:00. So I go and suddenly I'm like, do I have like a unicorn? I don't know.
Filter on?
You looked like the Ultimate Warrior from the WWII when you came on, and I was like, shit. Yeah,
just thought, well, I'll just roll with it. Maybe
keep it interesting. You got to keep it interesting. Your dad was in the military, and I know you talk about this briefly.
I do.
And I don't know how into it you like to get or how much you like to talk about it, but do you think that played like a role in, obviously it played a role in, how you are as a person, but do you think that kind of shaped your like interest and your like need to share history with so many people?
No, not many to share history with other people. Mm-hmm. Definitely personal interest. Because there's a weird mystery to having my dad was in 2 para, so he was a Bloody Sunday. He was also in the Falklands and the first Gulf War. And he would write to me when I was at boarding school and stuff. And there is a mystery to the fact he never really spoke about it either. Except certain times, like he would often speak about it to his dad. Like sometimes his dad would come and stay and they'd swap war stories. And I'd like sit in the corner and listen. Mm-hmm. Fascinating. My dad himself was a big sort of military history. I keep saying was. He's still with us. I just don't know where he is. uh, he was a big military history nut as well, and I grew up a lot around it.
Mhm.
Even where we used to go to church on a Sunday, and the church we used to go to was in Sandhurst, which is the officer training college in England. My dad used to teach there latterly in his career, and there was because it was a British military church. There were like big paintings of Arnhem there and stuff, and they weren't depicted in a particularly flattering way because Arnhem was such a big disaster for the British Airborne. And I'd ask my dad about that, and we'd talk about it, and I'd think, I'd want to know what went wrong, basically. Like, I'm not all that interested in things that go really, really well, but there's this great quote by, I think it's Shelby Foote, that brilliant American historian. He's talking on the Ken Burns Civil War documentary, and he's saying that in the DNA and genetics of every Southern boy, there's a moment where they can be right before Pickett's charge, basically, with all the bayonets gleaming, right before it all goes wrong. And like, I don't know, I've always been fascinated with like, how could it have gone right? Do you know what I mean? This is what that's why I'm fascinated by Arnhem as well. And then just yeah, just playing somebody like Tab myself, and then getting older and having a young son. I've got a 19-year-old son now, and thinking, good God, you know, he was 2 years older than some of these kids, and just what they did and where they came from, and it was at a time, the band stuff was at a time when people barely left their farm, barely left their town.
Yeah.
They're mustered up and they go somewhere they've never been before. They get trained, they get get shipped to a land they've never been before, and then they get in a plane and they jump out in these silk parachutes and land to people of a similar ilkage. You must have thought, what? Where are these people coming from? Do you know what I mean? There's something really quite incredible and magical about it, just from the point of view of like, I think it's Paul Wooditch called them, you know, angels of mercy or angels from above. These incredible rescuers coming in to do this incredible stuff. It's intoxicating. It's fascinating. Mm-hmm. And each time you do a tour, the guides that I get, they all bring up a different story each time, and it's always incredible.
How was it for you? It's been so long, but how was it for you learning about Talbot? Like, were you given like a folder full of information? Was it kind of like there was no social media back then, so was it a guessing game of calling people, or were you just
Right, because
like,
I know a
was
lot
it
of the
thrust
guys
upon
say they
you?
got a packet and then a phone number for their veteran at the bottom, but Tab died well before.
Yeah.
So
um, I was cast very, very late. So boot camp started on like a Saturday. I was cast on like Thursday because I actually auditioned for a small role in episode 1 that ended up getting cut out because anybody who doesn't know this, episode 1 was completely reshot. And there was a character in it in the original episode called Dietrich, whose story sort of mirrors Major Winter's. And in the end, there's a test jump and his chute doesn't open. It hits the deck. I think there's a reference to it in the episode that you see, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, I went to audition for that, and Tony Toe, who was one of the exec producers, was like, "I think you'd be better at this." And I was like, "No, please, just give me anything." But so I was cast because the guy that originally played Tab dropped out. That's the main point. So I was cast very late. I went to boot camp, and there wasn't a lot of character work in boot camp. It was just about trying to mold you. But at one point at boot camp, I think someone did give me a dossier with a bunch of folders and files and that kind of stuff. But I didn't have any contact with the family until the start of episode 3, which weirdly enough, we actually filmed like second. Because they broke the filming down into 2 units. So 2 episodes were being filmed at the same time. So we all filmed episode 1, and then about 2 or 3 weeks into episode 1, episode 2 started. And then a little bit into that, episode 3 started, and you jump between sets. And so episode 3 originally starts, they actually cut the first bit out with me, Gordon, and Shifty walking along, seeing all these dead bodies everywhere. And actually, there's one of the posters for Band of Brothers is me and Shifty. and we're just kind of looking down. I think it says there was a time when the world called upon heroes or something, and that's actually a still from that scene, which was cut out, where we walk along and all these dead paratroopers are everywhere, and we're like talking about it, and then we find Blythe.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere in between shooting that and shooting the scene where I find Blythe, a guy called Joe, he wasn't a costume guy, he was just kind of like the guru. So he was like historical accuracy guy, I think. And he just knew everything about everything to do with everybody's characters and what they wore and how they wore it, all the rest of it. He handed me a phone, like a little late 90s flip phone, and said, "Is Tam's brother?" And I was like, "What?" And I had this conversation just right before we shot the scene where I find Blythe. And I asked him a bunch of questions and all the rest of it, as much as I could think to ask him. And I had an idea of the way I was going to do that scene. And if you actually watch it, I've got this kind of weird, slightly zoned out look in my face, and it's much quieter and calmer. And it's because of that phone call before, kind of knocked me completely off center. And yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about him, but a lot of the historians did. And a show like that, everybody's involved. So the director knew everything about all the characters, the costume, makeup. Everybody knew everything. So what you couldn't do is step out of line. Dale Dye knew everything as well. So as long as you basically did what you were supposed to do, you were fine. And it wasn't one of those things where you arrive with a character idea for some show or some film, and then you fight your corner on every angle. Like, I don't think my character would do this. Basically, everybody's saying your character would do this, and you do it because there's literally a dossier in front of them where someone said, "Look, in this letter, he said this, and this." So that's how I think that's how we all kind of went through it. Really, a little bit more with people like Frank John Hughes or Jimmy Matteo, who had quite close relationships with their veteran. They were able to, voices and physicality and stuff, bring their own lilt to it a little bit more, because they're like, "Look, I'm literally talking to the guy. He sounds like this, he laughs like this, he walks like this, he doesn't do that." And he told me that that stuff isn't true. Because I didn't have that, and a lot of people didn't have that, I just kind of went with what I was told, and what the essence of Tab was about was basically he was naturally a brilliant soldier, naturally a brilliant leader, but the nicest guy you could meet. So quite why I got cast, I've no idea. I must have hidden that bit very well.
Shifted him out of it. Also, I wouldn't want to cross Dale Dye either. I mean, seeing him yell in clips of behind the scenes of Masters of the Air, I was like, I if he's
I've
like
seen the
that
clips from
now,
Van's boot camp.
yeah, if he's like
Nuh-uh.
that now, what was he like 25 years ago,
What
He
it
seems
was.
like a nice man though.
He
That's
does.
the main part.
There's two Dale Dyes. There's the one where he's got his uniform on, yelling at you and sticking his toe up your ass, and there's the one that downtime Dale. So on boot camp, they would get us up at 5 a.m. and then just rinse us one way or another until about whatever time, 6, 7 o'clock. And then it was like chow, which is army speak for you go and get a bunch of slop food. And then he would talk for about 2 hours afterwards every night. It was called downtime, about what we were doing, about certain elements of what we were doing. And then you get the more cerebral, clever. I mean, he's a journalist as well. He was a journalist. He's a very smart man, actually. And he knows exactly what he's doing and exactly what he wants. And he's a very paternal figure as well. I mean, I saw him in Gettysburg a few months ago, and he's still this like really paternal figure. But not long ago, I did an audio book for a writer by the name of Andy Cutler. He sort of called me and said, would you do my audio book?" And I was like, yeah. So I did a bit of prep on it, and I sent him a clip of the first chapter, like, "This is how I'm going to do it." And he said, yeah. He wasn't all that impressed. "Yeah, we're going to get my producer to send you a few notes." And I was like, you have a producer. Who has a producer for an audiobook? So I get this phone call from the producer of the audiobook, and literally it's like, how's it going, Taylor? It was dead. And I was like, oh no, what have I signed for? And he rode my ass like Zorro for like, I don't even know how long it took me to finish this book, because he just kept sending me notes back. Out of print, audiobook got out because it took me that long to finish it because of Dale Die.
Wow.
But no, he's a great guy.
What apart from revamping every single thing in your life and on social media, what's next for Matthew Leitch and We Happy Few?
That's a good question, actually.
He doesn't know. We're just guessing. We're going on with it.
Typically, I just make it up as I go along. I follow signposts and dice.
Works.
So we're going to do this tour in November, start of November, which is the SAS Rogue Heroes tour. So we're going to do Sicily. It's in Sicily. And we're going to do the SAS Day 1, and we're going to do 82nd Airborne Day 2. And after that, I'm going to sort of pull the curtain down on this particular iteration of We Happy Few for a while. And then it all depends. It's just because there's a lot in my life personally that's quite kind of in a flux at the moment. So until I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm going to do next. I'm working on a business with my son at the moment, and I'm working on developing a script for a book for a writer friend of mine for a pitch for a TV show. So I'm plenty busy with that, and my 3 kids and my dog and my cat and my wife. And I'm also in the process of losing weight because I'm in the sweatiest conservatory in the 90s and not quite sure whether my brain is actually functioning properly. Like, if you put this on YouTube, it's just going to gross people out, the amount I've sweated.
It's fine. No one will see it. It's all right. No one's going to see the sweat, but we will end it there so you don't pass out in your conservatory.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
However, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
You're a good egg.
You
Good.
are. You're a good egg, Matt.
Good. Right. Well,
Thank you, Matthew.
I'll jump off and I'll let you do your little finishing business.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
He is probably one of the nicest guys.
Oh yeah, just easy to talk to.
He's
Just
easy
a
to talk to, and
down-to-earth,
he's
lovely
very
man.
down to earth, very smart, very knowledgeable, and he doesn't blow smoke. Like, he knows what he's talking about, but he's always, I want to know more type of guy, which I like.
Yeah, I always wanna know more. And I like how, again, he's still so receptive to questions I've had
Yes.
for only for me for 5 to 6 years, and he's talking about things from
25 years ago.
2025. So, very appreciative of that, and I'm happy that we got to talk to him.
Yeah, I know.
For this.
I'm glad that you finally got to chat with him. It was nice to see him again.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank
you, everyone,
for listening. And thank you, Matt. An
Good for
honorary,
him.
we won't call him a dolly, but we'll call honorary donut.
There you go. That's pretty.
An honorary donut in the truck. And until next time, everybody, thank you so much for joining us once again. And we appreciate your support and your listens and your comments and your feedback. And we will catch you on the next one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.